Welcome back, everyone. Pastor Howie Maxson here with another edition of Readings and Thoughts through the Scriptures, or from the Scriptures. And we are in Acts chapter 12. And in Acts chapter 12, got one of those interesting things where the verses we're going to look at are split up a little bit from the last part of what we read in our last video about Peter's miraculous rescue from prison, and what leads into what we're going to read about in this video regarding King Herod's death. So we're going to be looking at Acts chapter 12, verse 19b, the second half of verse 19 through 24. And then in our next video, there is a split between the end of this chapter, chapter 12, and the beginning of chapter 13. So once again, I marvel at how chapters and verse divisions got organized in the first place. Kind of what were they thinking type thing once in a while. But anyway, we're going to look at Herod's death today. King Herod, the whole Herod family was wicked, marked by wickedness and ungodliness and cruelty to those who were critical of them. And so we see this in the way that King Herod came to his demise. This is the King Herod who had John the Baptist beheaded because John the Baptist criticized Herod's marriage with his brother's wife, who, was an immoral situation. The whole thing was wicked, and Herod's wife convinced his daughter, after Herod in his drunkenness basically made a stupid vow. And that vow was that this daughter had pleased everybody at this banquet, which was probably not just a very decent banquet to begin with, but a debauchery in the making. She came in, she danced, she pleased them, and you can fill in the blanks with your imagination about how that scenario worked out. Or maybe we shouldn't even think about how that scenario worked out. However, the end result was Herod's wife told the daughter to ask for John the Baptist's head, and he granted it. So this is the kind of person we're talking about. And we see more of his wickedness and ungodliness and sacrilege in this account. Herod's death, Acts chapter 12, verses 19b through 24. So we start in the middle of verse 19. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there. Caesarea was the capital city of the region that he had oversight of, working with the Romans. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. They now joined together and sought an audience with him. After securing the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. It's interesting that this food supply, food was supplied from Palestine, from Galilee and parts of Judea. And so when Jesus was confronted by the woman from the Sidonian woman who was asking for him to heal her daughter, Jesus appears to challenge her faith because she was from the area of Tyre and Sidon, and there was a great hatred and prejudice against the Sidonians, the Tyre and Sidonian people, because food was being taken from the Jews in Galilee and Judea and sent to Tyre and Sidon. And so this is reflected in this peace offering that the people of Tyre and Sidon wanted to make with Herod. They depended on the food supply that Herod would send them. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of a God, not a man." Now, when angels came to visit people, and people bowed and worshiped them, angels sent from God always told them to stand up, "Don't worship me. I am your servant. I am a servant of God. I am like you. I am not God." But verse 23 tells us immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, did not tell the people, "No, don't bow down to me. Don't look at me as God. I am simply God's servant." Herod did not give praise to God. An angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. Now, we don't know exactly what that means, whether he was struck down immediately or he was struck by the angel with a disease that ultimately killed him. But it's summarized here, an angel of the Lord, whom Herod did not praise because he liked that praise of being told by this crowd that his voice is the voice of God. Herod died. He was struck down. He was chastised in the most severe of ways. God is a jealous God, we're told in the scriptures, which doesn't mean that he's mean, and it doesn't mean that he is evil in himself, though we think jealousy is an evil thing in our lives. But he was a jealous God in the sense that he did not recognize challengers like Herod, who would disown God and would defame God, if you will, for their own glory. And so the Lord struck him down. He was eaten by worms and died. But verse 24 says, the word of God, the real words of the real God, continued to spread and flourish. And we'll see how the rest of the book of Acts shows us how the word of God continued to spread and to flourish beyond the realm of Palestine into the further reaches of the Roman Empire, touching people from all nations in the process, and is still doing the same thing. You know, the book of Acts is not finished. We are still, and for the past 20 centuries, we have been participating in, if you will, the living out of the last chapter of the book of Acts. For the Acts of the Apostles are not finished. Yes, the literal lifespan of the apostles has ended, but their works left behind as the foundation for the church continue. The Word of God continues. They wrote, the apostles wrote some of what we call the New Testament today. As a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul, who we will now be hearing more and more about in subsequent videos, and his ministries to the nations, wrote half of the New Testament. And so, in our next video, we'll continue, but I commend to you the Word of God, and commend to you your mission and my mission in spreading the Word of God far and wide, and seeing the Word of God flourish in our culture today. So God bless your day. See you next time.